In today's interview, we have Jim Caldwell again, and you may remember him from about a year ago. He has lost 184 pounds, and now he has managed to keep it off for over 2 years. So in this interview, we're going to focus mainly on maintenance, the challenges he's faced there, and what he's learned. Well, Jim, thank you for being here. In today's interview, we're going to discuss mostly about maintenance, but for those of people who didn't see your first interview on here, why don't you give a quick recap of how much you've lost and how long it took and how you lost the weight initially?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me back on, Kayla, for another interview. If you missed my first interview, basically my story is I started about August of 2016, and at that time I weighed 352 pounds. I achieved finally, my lowest weight was like 188 pounds that I lost. And so that was my lowest weight. I'm currently at 184 pounds of weight loss. So right now I weigh 168. To make a long story short, I weigh 168 now, and I used to weigh 352. It took me 13 to 14 months to lose the majority of the weight. And how I did it, I mean, the real great weight loss happened when I combined like fasting and an OMAD, 1 meal a day approach. I came up with a new diet, a new eating strategy, and when I did that, the weight just came off real fast. I do want to point out, I don't know if I mentioned it the first time, the eating strategy that I came up with, it wasn't anybody's plan. It wasn't low carb, high fat. It wasn't Weight Watchers. It was just something I made up myself. I didn't track anything. I didn't track calories. I didn't measure a ketone. I didn't do the scientific approach. I just went by instinct. Mm-hmm. And I think that was one reason why it worked for me. I wasn't caught up in the science of it, I don't know my macros. People used to ask me, what were your macros? I don't know. I don't know what they were at that time. I do now, but so anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I went with an approach. My idea was to eat in my diet, eat food that came either directly from a plant or an animal, like fresh fruit and vegetables, meat, dairy, eggs, that kind of thing, and to really de-emphasize carbs, sugar for sure, and like breads, things like that. And I still had fruit though, so I had some sugar from fruit, but otherwise I just went with what I call clean eating, fresh food. I avoided anything like frozen food or the packaged food or anything in a box or the preservatives or things like that. So fresh food approach. After a while, it was working. I started to feel good. I was losing weight. I started walking every day, and then the walking became jogging, and then I became a bit of a runner. So that was kind of a snapshot of the approach I took to feed my weight loss.
Very good. So it took you, like you said, about 13 months to lose the weight. So that means you've been maintaining for how long now?
It's just over 2 years.
Okay, so just over 2 years. So how does your daily routine look nowadays?
Well, that's an interesting question because honestly, it's not a whole lot different. I mean, I'm still OMAD, 1 meal a day. This has become my life, and I kind of like it, and it looks like I'm sticking with it. Right. The big change for me, and I think I mentioned this in the first video, is that I started in with let's say I call it a carnivore diet. Mm-hmm. I gave up, I did this as a test, and then I sort of adopted that, and it's become my lifestyle. So I eliminated most of the fruit and the vegetables from my diet. I'm basically now kind of just a meat eater. Although I'm gravitating away from calling it a carnivore diet because it brings up it brings up there's a lot of little factions within the carnivore community, and it gets into things I'm not interested in arguing about or discussing, because I'm not trying I'm trying to find a diet that works for me.
Right.
I'm not trying to be anybody's example, or, for example, I'll just say in the carnivore community, there's the people that think their fat to protein ratio is ultimately really important. It needs to be 2 to 1. There's some people that think it's best that you got to go raw, don't even cook.
Oh, yeah.
There's some that are kind of a purist about it, like just meat and water, that's it. Then there's other people say, well, I'm 95% carnivore, 90, like, I don't want to do the math on it.
Right.
And there's others that, there's different communities. And you know what? There's people where all those different factions, it's working for them,
Right.
so I don't have any problem with that. And it piques my curiosity and I go with it. But what I'm leading to is what I call my diet right now is I call it low carb, high protein.
Mm-hmm.
It's not low carb, high fat, because that's not my thing. Isn't high fat. It's low carb, high protein, and that really fits what I do with my diet.
Mm-hmm.
I am low carb, and now I know my macros. I have like 6 or 7 grams of carbohydrate a day, which is not much.
Right. Yeah.
It's considered low or very low by any standard. And that's just because I've eliminated all that. I don't have to think about it. I just don't eat that. The only thing I think about is protein and filling up on the protein.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. The fat, whatever fat I get with the protein is fine with me. And I go in waves. Sometimes I'm eating like really fatty meat. Other times I'm eating lean meat. It just depends on how hungry I am, how much exercise I've done. And there's big variation. So I like to call it low carb, high protein. And I'll just give you an example. Like my menu on any given day is meat with eggs and/or pork rinds,
Mm-hmm.
one or the other. I take salt. I don't do any supplements, but I eat salt in the morning and before I exercise. I have, and here's the big exception from the carnivore. I have every day some chocolate after my meal, some very dark chocolate, and I like it. And I'm not going to change it, whether they kick me out of the carnivore community or not. I like the chocolate. It works. And the other thing, well, my beverages are coffee and sparkling mineral water, and that's my preferred way of eating. So, and that's, given my option, I would eat that every single day, and I don't find it boring. I feel real good with it. I'm still exercising, probably minimum 5 days a week. I'm probably a little bit overdoing it. Mainly cardio type exercises, also some body weight exercises, but that's my routine: low carb, high protein, with exercise, and enjoying it.
And I know people are going to ask, the coffee, black coffee, do you put anything in it?
Uh, I generally do have heavy whipping cream in the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yum.
that's indulgence, and some of the some people, you know, this question is asked a lot. When I just say I have coffee during a fast or whatever, everybody wants to know, what do you put in your coffee? That's really hot topic for some reason. But
I don't know why.
yeah, like it's the biggest factor in your weight loss is what you put in your
Right.
coffee. But anyway, people are interested in it.
Right.
I generally have. Here's the thing: heavy whipping cream comes with some heavy calories too. So I have found that I do have to monitor that a little bit. So speaking of coffee, I'm having my morning coffee right now, but I do divide it up. Sometimes I have black, and sometimes a splash of heavy cream. But the why I do the black sometimes is because it makes the heavy cream that much better. Like if I
Right.
have
Oh, yeah.
heavy every single time, I could become used to it, and I don't even notice how good it is. But
Mhm.
if I have like black coffee in the morning when I go to work, and then for lunchtime I have one with heavy cream, it's like, oh wow, this is great.
Oh,
You know?
right. You're right. You're right. Um, so so it sounds like you have made some changes because in the beginning when you were initially losing weight, you weren't necessarily so low carb. Is that right? And then you've just kind of gotten there gradually or?
That's correct. You know, I had carbs during my weight loss phase. You know, vegetables have carbs and fruit has carbs. There's some sugar in fruit. Like I said, I truly don't know what my carb count was during that time. I
Right.
would imagine it was because I had given up like added sugar, like my
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola and any kind of sweets. I'd given up all that. And I'd given up bread and like grains for the most part. So I imagine it was fairly low, but if I had to estimate, I'd say it was probably, you know, 30 to 50 grams per day. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
probably still most people would consider it low carb, but I wasn't
Right.
hyper focused on it. And so, yeah, that is the change now. I generally vegetables and the only carbs I have in my diet are from the chocolate, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's six or 7 grams of carb in the chocolate. A tiny bit of sugar because I eat very, very dark chocolate. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it's something satisfying about it. It's like a nice way to cap off the day. Just
Oh,
that little
sure.
treat. Yeah.
So when do you weigh every day or do you just track it sometimes or how do you do that?
You know, weighing every day was one of the promises I made when I was doing my weight loss journey because I had lived a long time in fear of the scale and not
Mm-hmm.
wanting to weigh. I just lived in denial. I didn't want to know what that number was because I knew I
Right.
would. So I vowed that I'm going to weigh every day and face the music, you know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad. And so I do weigh every day. Um, I was recording it and putting it in a spreadsheet for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. And I got all this data. I don't necessarily record it every day, but I do hop on the scale and I know where I'm at on
Right.
any given.
And so, do you try to keep that number exactly the same every day, or do you have kind of a range you're comfortable in, or how did you decide that for yourself?
Okay, as I had like not a range so much as a target in mind. Like when I was in weight loss, after I was having some success, everybody wanted to know, well, what's your goal? So I came up with a goal and I chose 180 pounds because I knew that I weighed no more than that in high school. So I thought,
Mm-hmm.
well, I didn't know if I could achieve that, but that was a
Right.
goal anyway. Um, I just picked it up. You know, it sounded like a good number. As I actually started approaching 180, I realized that that wasn't going to be enough, because I still had I sensed that I had fat on me, that I needed to go lower, and I just estimated like another 15 pounds for my age and my body type, that I needed to. So I picked 165.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not knowing if that was where it's going to work out or not, but lo and behold, I kind of just ended up there, and my body sort of recognized that as a limit, not as a limit, but I mean, I stopped losing around that point,
Right.
and, and for a good more than a year or a year and a half, I was in a tight range. My diet is so limited. I don't have a
Mm-hmm.
big fluctuation, but I was like between 164 and 167 for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Recently, I drifted up a little bit. We can talk about that, but I
Sure.
think I've been as high as I think close to 172 at one point. Stay on 168, but it has been migrating up a little bit, and that's caused me to kind of make some adjustment. I mean, it's not a huge. I mean, a lot of people will kind of laugh, and people think I'm sort of over hypersensitive about a few, 4 pounds, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, I'm really I have targets, but I guess to answer your question, not really a range. It doesn't range very much though, like plus or minus a couple pounds.
Right. So you said it started to go up, right? It trended up a little bit. And so what did you do? Like, how did you handle it?
Well, yeah, it started. I noticed it was about in August of this year, like let's say the past 6 months. Uh, I noticed, I weigh every day, so I can see this trend. It was kind of
Mm-hmm.
inching up, maybe a half pound a month. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
not anything. I mean, long term, I wouldn't want that to keep going on, but it was inching up, and I didn't really know why. And when I saw that it wasn't stopping, I thought, well, I got to do something. And my first thought was do nothing. I wanted to take the least amount of action required to take
Right.
care of it. I don't want to get out the sledgehammer and smash it back, or go
Right.
on some 2-week fast. Or I didn't want to overreact. I wanted
Right.
to be, I was hoping it would be within my normal lifestyle. Maybe it'll just go away normally, just through the seasonal changes or whatever. So I did nothing, and it nothing happened either. It was still creeping up and sort of bothering me. Um, the other thing I've considered doing, and something that I have tested this year, is I didn't do this on my weight loss, but I started tracking my food and weighing it and tracking it and finding out my
Mm.
macros and all that. I did that as an experiment to learn about, so if somebody asked me what my macros are or what, I could have an answer. Or what my calories are. I know what it is. And one thing I learned from doing that is, well, I learned that I had like kind of my normal intuitive eating. I just eat intuitively until I'm full.
Right.
But if I track the calories for that, there's kind of a huge range. Like it
Mm.
depends on how hungry I am, how much I've
Right.
exercised,
Right.
the kind of meat I'm eating. It could be like from a low of, let's say, 1,800 calories, or it could be close to 3,000. Like it's
Right.
like all over the map.
Mm-hmm.
And after I documented my eating, I found out that, well, if I wanted to maintain a certain weight, I could adjust my eating as I'm eating. I load in what I'm eating. I weigh a certain amount of meat and I put it in the chronometer.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say, oh, I'm at 1,800 calories. All right, I can have 300 calories more. I have a little more. I can actually, you know, fine tune it if I want to.
Right.
And that did work. To be honest, I played around with that, and it kind of takes out the highs and lows so that
Right.
you could maintain a narrow range that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about doing that, to, going back to the chronometer, weighing all my food every day, but I really don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to be a slave to the.
Right.
I don't want. I want to live free and intuitively and just know how to eat and
Yes.
be natural with it. I don't want to think, oh, I got to weigh my food. So that's a tool I can use if I want to. I'm not there yet. So what I'm doing right now, and frankly, I just started this, is, and this is much easier for me to do. I've decided I can throw into let's say in a month, I could do anywhere from, say, 1 to 3 days of fasting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Uh, because for me, I've been OMAD so long and I've done fasting. Fasting for me a day is a breeze. To be
Right.
honest, I just have to remember not to eat. It's no work. I still have
Right.
coffee, and on a fasting day, I don't have the heavy cream. Uh, and maybe I'm thinking that might be a tool that I can regulate my weight a little bit. And then when I'm not fasting, I can be freestyle and eat intuitively and not care so much.
Right.
So that's kind of my approach right now. As a matter of fact, this past week, I fasted Tuesday and Thursday. I did 2 days of fasting, and I think the week after next, I'm going to do like another day of fasting. It just,
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't want to do overkill. I want to make a small little, maybe
Right.
maybe 1 day a month will be enough. Maybe 2 days. I don't know. I'll juggle around with that, but that's the tool I'm thinking to use right now. Is just throwing a little bit of fasting.
Right.
I do some
Well,
other ideas down the road, but that's it depends how this works out.
right. Well, it sounds like you've done a great job of really maintaining in a tight tight range there. So, uh, so what has been your biggest challenge since, hitting your goal weight? You've been in maintenance for a couple years now. What's been the biggest challenge?
Uh, you know, there hasn't been so many challenges. I'd probably say this 3 or 4 pounds that I gained was my biggest challenge.
Right.
Um, and that,
Because you kind of think it's going to keep going, right? Like, oh no, this is when
well,
I gain it back.
oh yeah, one of my goals is to remain vigilant and don't take my eye off the ball. Don't lose my focus. I'm not going back to my old life.
Right.
And so 3 or 4 pounds over 6 months, yeah, that's on my radar. That has my attention. Am I overly worried about it? No. But so challenges, honestly, I'm happy with my way of eating, and I'm happy with my lifestyle. I feel real good. Um, I've tested I've tested several things. I've tested I tested I mentioned the high fat carnivore eating. I tested that because I'm open to maybe looking for something better, some way to improve, or just to maybe find a better version of something that works better, an improvement. Even though things are fine for me now, I have an open mind. So I tried the high fat diet. I didn't like that at all. I stopped that after like 3 days. It's just not for me.
Right.
I tested, what else did I test? I tested a 2 meal a day. One thing I've done during maintenance, I thought, well, a lot of people eat more than once a day, and maybe it would balance my energy out, and maybe I don't know. I'm just curious. Do I really eat only once a day or not? So that test lasted about a week. I ate breakfast for a week every day, and that I didn't like it.
Right.
Speaking about OMAD, one of the big things when you do it so long, one of the big features is how simple it is and how freeing it is. I don't know if you're still doing OMAD or not, if that was your lifestyle, but it's just so uncomplicated and frees up time.
Right.
The food preparation for me is easy. The shopping is easy. I have extra time. It's just making a breakfast. That week that I tested at 2 meals a day, I had breakfast. Just it seemed like so much work and so much extra time and dishes. It's like, anyway. So I tested that. I tested a few things. I tested the weighing and tracking. So rather than challenges, I mean, let's put it this way. I have learned in this past year of maintenance, I have learned some things about myself that I think are important, and I'll share that.
Sure.
I've learned that I think why my maintenance is going so well and why it was kind of a smooth transition for me is precisely because I didn't change much. And in my weight loss journey, I was real conscious to only make changes that I thought could be permanent lifestyle changes and not temporary dietary interventions. I think that's key. I see so many people doing to me, it looks like an uncomfortable thing that can't last long term. That may work and you may get some weight off, but what happens when you're done with that?
Right.
So this is one thing I kind of realized this year. When I started reaching my weight goal, initially I had in my mind, okay, I got to get ready for maintenance. What's my plan? I got to have a plan. I got to have a strategy. How many times a day am I going to eat, and what am I going to eat? Because that's all you hear is you got to have this big plan, and it's different, and it's going to be harder, and all this. And I got a little anxiety over that right in the beginning. I was like, oh, here I am, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then the light went on one day. I'm happy where I'm at. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
And then I was like, I felt so free at that point.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm not losing weight now, but I don't need to lose weight, but I like where I'm at. So
Right.
anyway, that's one thing I learned. And I, when people ask me what to do, I always say, make small incremental changes that you can build on, and that can be a permanent lifestyle change, because those will pay off in the end.
Mm.
Another thing I learned, and I'll share this. I learned some things when I travel, when I'm away from home, when I'm away from my structured life, my own food, and you know, my own routine. When I travel away, let's say for 2 or 3 days on business or pleasure or whatever, and I'm around different people and different food, and away from the structure, um, I noticed that the the voices in my head, the old urges and the old habits,
Mm.
they kind of surfaced again, and I thought they were gone. Let's say,
Right.
you know, the voice is saying, yeah, let's have some popcorn or pizza or chocolate cake or whatever. I started hearing those voices, and I was, well, wait a minute, that's not me. That's the stuff I thought was gone.
Right.
And and then I realized, wow, that stuff, maybe it never goes away.
Right.
I'm talking about the old habits that are maybe buried way deep in the recesses of your mind. Maybe they never do go away.
Right.
And in my case, I think maybe they never will go away. Maybe they're just kind of, I use the analogy that the old Jim, I've got him, with duct tape, around the mouth, or a muzzle, and he's in the trunk of the car. And so occasionally all you hear is like, he's, he's under, when I'm at home, it's totally under control. I don't hear anything. But
Right.
when I travel, suddenly here's that voice, hey, have some popcorn. It's so,
Right.
anyway, that just reminded me to stay vigilant, because maybe it's a personality trait or something that is always going to be there.
Mhm.
So I keep a watch on that. But when I'm at home, like I said, in a structured environment, I never hear any of that. But I learned that I have to watch it when I travel.
Right.
Um, I'll mention one other thing I learned, and this is kind of recently. I told you the weight kind of crept up a little bit, and I've been trying to understand why that is.
Mhm.
And I mentioned that I like to eat instinctively, and that I was tracking uh, for some time, but then I got away from it because I don't want to live my life that way.
Right.
I think I think many people do this, but when you eat instinctively, speaking for myself, I tend to it it becomes more and more and more.
Mhm. Mhm.
Little unconsciously, I start eating more.
Mhm.
Like I said, well, 2 pounds of meat becomes 2.5 pounds of meat,
Right.
closer to
Mhm.
3. And I'm not consciously making the decision to do it. It's just, hey, it tastes good.
Right. Right.
Uh, I have butter. I put butter on meat. I eat butter a lot. Um, what was 20 grams of butter might become 50 grams of butter. It just
Mhm.
migrates upward. And there's this progression, this creep.
Right.
And I know I've done that all my life. I know when I was in all my years of being heavy and obese, I know I crept up, and my weight crept up, like
Mhm.
10, 15 pounds a year, maybe. It's because
Right.
of this not being disciplined, or not tracking your food, or not having any kind of a way to gauge it.
Mhm.
Uh, so, and the funny thing is, here I am eating one meal a day, and I got a very limited diet, and I can still overeat.
Right.
Um, and the funny thing is, when I think about myself, I mean, many people I talk to say, "Well, I can't do OMAD because I can't eat enough in one sitting. I can't get all my calories in there." And I think, wow, so I
Yeah.
need a
Nice
four
problem to
hour
have.
of. They need a longer window. I need to eat 2 meals, or I need to eat over 8 hours. And I'm thinking, man, I can easily eat a day. In 45 minutes, I can eat a whole day's worth, and then some.
Right.
So, and maybe I've always had this ability to eat more, And so I'm just conscious of that now. And that's when I decided maybe to add to counterbalance that trend, which is okay. To me, as long as you know yourself,
Right.
it's okay. You can take a countermeasure. So one of my advice to people is always to know yourself, be honest. And if I know that now, I'm going to do the occasional fasting day to maybe counterbalance that. And I'm hoping, because that'll be easy for me to do. I'm hoping that just works out. But yeah, so I guess facing these things in the future, that's a challenge. Just keeping these little things in check. That's the challenge. But so far, it's been pretty routine and easy.
To go back to, you said you knew that you were overeating, or you could see that. Would you say that you could tell, like, right after the meal, like, I kind of overdid it? Or was it just more the scale is telling me I'm overdoing it?
I couldn't tell. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't tell when I was eating. Like I
Right.
said, it was sort of unconsciously happening.
Right.
But if I was using that chronometer and tracking, I would have known right away. I
Right.
mean, I would know that if somebody was recording my food every day and they showed me, look what you've done over the past 6 months. You were here and now you're up here.
Mm-hmm.
I know it would be there. I just don't want to take the time to measure it all and to,
Right.
but no, I didn't notice. But when I stop and think back, I used to eat only this much and now I'm eating this much. It has, if I really think about it, I know that I'm eating more.
Right.
Um, there may be other, I know for sure I mentioned the heavy whipping cream. That became first I didn't do any heavy cream. Then I added once per day. Then it became twice per day. Then it became like 3 times per day. Uh, and with the heavy cream, it comes with a lot of calories in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
it's just a lot of little changes, they add up. But the scale, but that's why I remain committed to weighing every day, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate. Um, I mean, it's not everything. Uh, the number on the scale isn't everything about your health,
Right.
for sure. But one thing, in addition to the number going up on the scale for me a little bit, I also, like, once a month I take my waist measurement, and
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's something else I keep an eye on. Um, you know, I don't want to have a growing waist. And I noticed, actually, there was a trend. I gained like a quarter to a half an inch on my waist. So that was,
Mm-hmm.
once I realized that, I said, that's not, if my waist was the same and I was up 4 pounds, I wouldn't really care. I mean, that probably meant I put on some muscle, which would be a
Mm-hmm.
desired outcome. But with the waist going a little bit, I said, no, I gotta look at this closer. So, but that's why I feel I need to stay with the measurements, weigh every day, and to keep this
Mm-hmm.
in check. But I like I said earlier, and I really want to keep things simple, and I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
overreact. You know,
Right.
I don't want to say, oh, I gained 4 pounds, I gotta back into weight loss. I'm reacting very lightly at this point.
Right. Right. So, if you could only give one piece of advice to somebody who maybe they're just entering maintenance mode, or maybe they're there now and they're kind of worried because they aren't sure what to do, what would you tell them?
Oh, well, one piece of, well, I have a lot of advice. I mean, and I've mentioned some of them already.
Right.
I said, make small, permanent lifestyle changes rather than temporary.
Right.
Uh, think permanent, not temporary. Think
Right.
lifestyle, not a diet, and not a special diet. Um, that's my one goal for the whole process. For one piece of advice. You know, to me, the goal should be that the maintenance lifestyle is not that much different than the weight loss. It's just maybe take off a little pressure from you, and maybe you can loosen up slightly, but it shouldn't be a whole lot different. It should be comfortable. Um, I mentioned knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to know yourself and to and to not tell yourself lies.
Right.
I'll be the first to admit, for years I told myself lies in order to procrastinate and to make excuses. Largely, it's about excuses for not doing anything,
Right.
to feel comfortable with yourself. Oh, that person, I don't need any more than that person, and they're thin and I'm not. So it must be, it's not me.
Right.
It's not. If I was really honest with myself, I would have factored in the fact that I used to go on many like food binges and splurges, and that other person never would do that. So
Right.
don't lie to yourself. One thing, I can't just say one thing. I have other advice.
That's fine. Go for it.
The more I think about it, I have other advice. Don't beat yourself up, because you start something and everybody slips up. Everybody slips up, and not just once. Usually it happens more, but you can't just beat yourself up about it. You got to just, okay, you got to minimize it. Okay, if you went out with the guys or the girls one night and you went off the rails and you blew your plan and gained a little weight, okay, pick yourself up the next day, get back on it, dust yourself off. No guilt. Just what I recommend to people, think about, try to understand why you slipped up.
Yes.
What were the triggers? What were the people that caused you to slip up? What was the food triggers? What lies did you tell yourself that it was going to be okay to do that? Try to learn from it. And then next time you slip up, do the same thing. Learn and learn and learn. Keep learning, because success is going to be built on those failures, and the learning you do from the failures is going to make you successful someday. Like I said, be vigilant. Don't assume. Frankly, I see some people having some success, and maybe they're halfway to their goal, and then they're getting a lot of accolades and congratulations, and I see people like getting too wrapped up in their success too early, and they lose focus, and it can take you off your game. I just recommend staying vigilant. Don't get overconfident. Just stay on the job and complete it. It's good to feel good. And it's good when people tell you you're doing good and looking good, but don't necessarily believe all your press clippings. You've got to keep going and be a success, and get the job done. But one last thing I'll say, advice to people: don't compare yourself to other people. That can be a killer. That can be dispiriting. Only compare yourself to your past self, to yourself a year ago or whatever. Look at your own improvement. We're all different. We're all different ages and different weights and different body types and different preferences. You always look at those people. You go to the gym and you see these people all fit, and okay, maybe that's not going to be you. You look in the magazine or on TV, don't worry about that. Just be a better version of yourself. Always target to be a better version of yourself. Anyway, that's enough of the advice, I guess. I could probably go on all day. Having my channel and that is kind of, people ask me for advice and I give advice, and I kind of have a whole list of different advice I give. But
all right. Well, Jim,
yeah,
thank you for all of that advice, because I think that, it totally matches my experience. I don't think you've said a single thing in all that advice that I thought I disagreed with at all. So, so thank you for sharing your story and for opening up about the struggles you've had during maintenance. If people want to get in touch with you or connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, I have a YouTube channel I would like to link to. It's called Beating Obesity.
Sure.
people can come over there. And I know they've been coming from our first interview. I have had countless people say, "Hey, I found you on 6 Miles to Supper." And I said, "Oh, so that's great. I recommend, if people are looking for inspiration, I made a video a couple months back, and it's called Imagine a New Life. Maybe you could link to that.
Sure, yeah.
On that video, I tried to recount all the ways I could think of how my life has improved across the way. I tried all the non-scale victories and and I all put it into one video. And it's kind of I've got a good feedback that is kind of inspiring. So you can reach me on Beating Obesity. I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @JVC and I have a public email that I give to people. Also, if there's people that want to reach me by email, it's jimcaldwell78@gmail.com. So that would be the ways that you could reach out to me if you wanted to.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jim, and I hope that people will go look at your first interview too to really delve into how you lost the weight for those out there that are still trying to lose. And I think that people who are maintaining right now will get a lot of value out of this video. So thanks for being here.
I hope so, and thank you, Kayla.
Thank you for watching this video. I want to take a moment to let you know about my second book, Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles, How to Keep Going When Things Get Difficult. There are frustrating obstacles that appear on every weight loss journey. Things like plateaus, slow weight loss, and dealing with emotional eating are all things that I have had to overcome. And in this book, I take you through each obstacles and I give you tips on how to overcome them. It goes all the way from getting started with weight loss, through the weight loss phase, and on into maintenance. I give a case study at the end of each chapter that talks about my experience with that obstacle, and it even talks some about the things I still struggle with. I've found that the obstacles are actually the things that will make you stronger and that will teach you the most about yourself. To buy the book, follow the link in the description.